All right, guys, so we got another one of these flying battery micro drones, and this is obviously a copy of the Nano long range design from Dave's FPV, but they've done a little bit something different here. This is obviously from Darwin FPV, and it's supposed to be for these 18650 lithium ion batteries. The original one that came out was the Recon 3, and this one looks very, very closely resembles this one or that one. And I think this is obviously 3D printed. I forget the name of this filament, some sort of nylon filament. I'll put the name up here on the screen. At first, I didn't think it was printed, but it apparently is. It doesn't look like it, but it's a very strong but somewhat flexible filament. It does give a little bit. So you can see it does flex. Doesn't really show up in the flight footage or anything like that, but perhaps it'll be better in crashes. Obviously I didn't crash this one, because I know that this bottom section here will probably break in a crash and shatter. But this filament does seem like it's less prone to shattering versus the PETG filament that was on the Recon 3. The arms here are not carbon fiber, they're 3D printed. And the original design, I believe, was 3D printed, but the battery tray was purchased. This whole thing is 3D printed, so even the battery tray is 3D printed. So it's like one giant top piece here. You don't have to buy a separate battery tray. It's all sort of one print, and then the bottom section is one print. So I don't know, there's pros and cons. I guess if you break an arm, you're gonna have to get a whole new frame. But yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll have to see how people do with this in the future. But obviously different parts in this one. They didn't go for the bigger motors. They went for smaller motors here. These are, what are these, 1103s, I think? 1103, 12,000 kV. Obviously running on 1S. It's just for cruising around. No real acro or freestyle or racing, of course. Caddx Ant camera. I think that's the same. The electronics are totally different. So this is sold as plug and play only. You have to add your own receiver. There's a small plug that's connected to the S bus on UART1. Just cut that off, and then I soldered up my own receiver here. A little tiny D16 receiver. There's a little bit of space here in the front, and a little bit underneath or between the video transmitter and the USB port here. The USB port is accessible, but if you have a connector that's a little bit fatter, you might have to use a different USB cable to get to that connector there because it's a little bit recessed. The VTX is right here instead of in the back. The antenna connects right there, but it goes all the way back through here and it comes out in this whole hole. So I'm thinking that they probably should make this a little bit longer and then make the antenna come out a little further so you get a little better reception if you're going to be flying further away, because it can get easily blocked by the battery and the quad. Now the flight controller they're using here is one that I think they've used in some other of their products. It's a 1 to 3S board, 15 amps per ESC, so a lot more than the Recon 3. I think that maxed out at 5, but again, for something like this, 5 is going to be generally enough. The video transmitter does go up to 400 milliwatts. I think the one in the Recon 3 only goes up to 350. And I think in terms of the differences, that's it. And quite a few actually in the frame, the motors, electronics are all different. The way it flies, it comes with a Pitoon out of the box. It flies pretty similarly. You'll see that here in the flight footage, and it's narrated flight footage. So don't really need to hear me talking about this too much. You can hear me talk about more when I'm flying it around. The flight time is going to depend on the battery you're using. So this is how much it weighs without the battery, 59.6. This is the Molicel 18650 cell that's the same battery that I used for the Recon 3 flight. So put that in here, and we're up to 105.6 grams. So I'm imagining the flight time is going to be pretty similar. You're going to be able to take it down to like about 2.8 volts. And then it's you're going to have some problems with the video cutting out and stuff like that, like I did with the Recon 3. So I'm thinking it's going to be similar in terms of flight time. About 10 minutes of flight time is what you're going to want to fly it up to before you consider landing, because you don't want to push it too much and then have a voltage sag and then end up just crashing because your video goes out. So be aware that I think that's got the same sort of limitations. That's pretty much it. It's a lot cheaper, $118, I think, so on AliExpress. I don't know if Pyrodrone is going to be picking this up or not. I've heard that Surge is not interested in this model, so I think AliExpress is going to be probably their only place to pick this up. So I'll put that link down in the description. I know that a lot of you guys complained that this was too expensive from coming from Recon 3. I think it was like $150, and so I don't know, $30 cheaper. Is that more reasonable for you guys? Let me know down in the comments section below. Should it even be cheaper? I mean, I don't know. Some people were saying that the parts are only worth like $50 or whatever. So I'm like, okay, maybe it's not cheap enough. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Talk to you guys later. Okay, so I got a little bit of an update here for you guys that may have purchased the Darwin129, the 7-inch. If you're having issues with the GPS not getting a lock, it has something to do with the this little SMA extension, the pigtail that goes from the video transmitter to the VTX antenna. And apparently it needs to be longer for, there's actually a technical reason why, but so they sent me another one, and it's right here. You have to obviously take these screws off in the back, the two top ones, and then the two on the bottom, and then you can pull this whole bottom back section out, and then you can replace the SMA connector with a new one if you're having problems with GPS lock. So they are offering it for free. If you bought it from Pyrodrone, contact Pyrodrone. They will send you a replacement. If you bought it from AliExpress, which is their Darwin FPV store there, you can contact them there and they can send you a replacement if you're having issues with getting a lock on the GPS. I wasn't really paying attention in the first video because I wasn't really going to test the GPS because it wasn't set up out of the box. I just basically flew it out of the box. But it turned out that it wasn't getting a lock on any of the flights. I wasn't really looking at that. I was just because it wasn't really set up and I wasn't testing it. So, but later on when I did test it, I wanted to see if it was going to work because some people were complaining that they weren't getting a lock, and I was having that same problem as well. And then once I replaced it with the updated SMA pigtail, the problem went away, and GPS rescue works after I set it up, and also getting a lock is pretty quick within about 30 seconds. And I said, as I mentioned in the first video, there is a video on how to set up GPS rescue is in the original video, so check that out. I think it's in the video description of the first video. So if you're having problems with that, that's in another video on how to set up, and I just follow those directions and set up for this one, and it works fine. So that's it for a little update on the Darwin129 in case you purchased that and are having some issues. All right, so it's a bit windy. My OSD has disappeared. That's strange. I must have the wrong setting for the camera. Interesting. So I'm not going to know exactly when my voltage is going to be low, but I'm not planning on flying this for the full battery. It's pretty windy right now. This is an 18650, and I think I'm expecting similar flight time anyway to the other Recon 3. It's going to be like a 10 to 12 minute flight. Just want to get a feel for how this flies, and it flies pretty similar. It's overweight for the power setup, so you're not going to be doing any kind of flips or rolls with this or acro. It's for cruising around. If you want to go long range, you're going to probably need a better receiver than I've got in here. It's just a D16 receiver, nothing special. The video will go up to 400 milliwatts, which I think is a little bit more than the Recon 3, so might be able to get better video, but yeah, you can see I'm not that far away. I think I'm only on 200 milliwatts, I believe, right now. And the antenna is a bit on the short side, so. If you want better video, you're probably going to want to get a longer antenna. And so it'll stick out the back a little bit more. Yeah, this wind is definitely having a effect on the flying. I'm fighting the wind a lot here. But it's pretty smooth. I mean, it's analog, so for what it is, it flies about the same as the other one, which is expected, even though it's got smaller motors. I'll actually measure the resting voltage of the lithium-ion pack when I get home with a multimeter, and that'll give me an idea how much capacity I've used up. Plus, I don't believe I charged this all the way. This is only charged to about 4.1 volts, I think. Because again, I'm not intending to fly this for the full battery. All right, let's see if I can do a couple of rolls here. Ooh, a lot of loss of power there at the end. I had to go almost full throttle to not crash. You can do it. Oh boy. Yeah, this isn't really meant for that kind of flying. Just want to see if we can do it. It can, of course. Yeah, if you get lower to the ground here, a little further away, a lot of stuff is in the way, and you get more video interference. Let's go up a little higher here. Relatively clear video here. So yeah, really nothing unusual or unexpected here. It is a fair amount cheaper than the Recon 3, about 30 bucks, I think. So for some of you guys that were complaining that the Recon 3 is too expensive, this is probably a better price compared to the components that are in here. So something to consider. But yeah, they did kind of an interesting thing. They combined the battery tray with the frame all together in this print. So it is not exactly the same as the original design, if I'm not mistaken, but pretty close, pretty much right on, spot on. All right, I think I'm gonna go ahead and land. I think you guys get an idea how this flies. Let me know what you guys think.